What's up, everybody? Welcome, my degenerate friends. Wall Street Jesus here. The Tuesday weekly webinar. Some cool things to go over today, and more importantly, to keep an eye on. Even though we got kind of an event this week, well, kind of an event. We have an event with the G20. Always adds a pain in the rear end type of wrinkle into the mix. But an interesting setup coming into the week, and we'll see how that materializes because things change quickly as we get into or closer to that G20. Just very quickly here before I take these off my screen, it looks like FedEx, which was up, now reversing into the red. It's all about a conference call over there. We'll see how the stock reacts off that. Micron, so far so good. Whoop, I opened my mouth. That takes care of that. But again, wait and see after the conference call, guidance and tariff lingo to see where these things end up. So I wouldn't get too excited about anything. Let me pull up SPY here so we could talk a little bit about what we got cooking. No, hold on. No, now this guy woke up. Hold on, I gotta mute him. All right, so basically, we just spoke Sunday, all right? So that's good because you guys know where we left off, and it's just a couple days later, early in the week here, okay? And we were talking about, if you remember the discussion we had primarily, was how, things were a little too hot, right? The bulls can use a nice punch in the jaw, especially with an event coming up. All right, you never want the boat leaning to one side, especially if you want, if you're looking to be bullish, you don't want it leaning to the bullish and all the riffraff feeling good about things going into an event. That's where bad things can happen. All right, but we spoke about how we had a strong velocity behind this rally. A lot of names got really hot, a lot of sectors, right? We looked at the individual sectors, if you remember. Each and every sector was, if not cooked already, damn close to it, right? What was it? Energy and maybe the banks that had some room. Everything else was pretty much cooked. So, in simple English, that just tells us the risk reward on the long side is just not to our advantage, right? The market could still continue higher, but the more it pushes higher through that hot short-term sentiment, the more the risk of something like this. Okay, not the end of the world, not a market crash, but something like this happening. All right, especially for those of you who focus on short-term options trading, it's crucial. That's why it's so important to pay attention to this stuff on a day-to-day basis. All right, so what we've seen here, I want to show you two charts I got in particular, which pretty much sum up the whole story here. Let me post them to private Twitter quickly. Hold on. I should have done this ahead of time, but hold on. All right, and basically these two charts are just simply a put the call. Let me pull it up. Oh, look, that was from, that was from last week. I haven't touched it since last week. There's the sector chart, by the way. What happened? Didn't it go through? Okay, here we go. All right. All right, so this chart sometimes just don't do it justice, but for this particular example, it gets the job done. All right, this is an intraday put the call. Okay, so this is this morning, and this is Monday morning. This was Friday morning. All right, just to give you guys an idea of how this thing lines up. All right, so again, for those of you who are not familiar with a put the call, maybe some of you are new out here. When the put the call is elevated, that means that the crowd is feeling nervous, bearish, excessive amount of volume on the put side as opposed to the call side, that would be a contrarian indicator of being bullish, right? So we have here, you see Monday morning right off the open. And, you know, it's a lot of times you guys have heard me tell you this. At the open, you really don't want to make a big deal out of the initial read of the put to call, because it's such a small sample size that it's easily skewed. Okay. So what you want to see, if you get an extreme reading, you want to see it wash out, and then things are okay again, right? There's no signal out of it. But when they linger, you know, that's where you have to pay attention and worry about either a squeeze or a flush, you know, to keep players level-headed out there. So Monday morning, okay, we're coming into the week on the hotter side, right? We were talking about, and you can see this here, right? I think this is a 5 minute or 15 minute. This might be a 5 minute I got up here. But you can see big drop in the put to call. So basically telling us, all right, again, I'm breaking it down in simple English. You don't need to know this stuff. Basically telling us that players were feeling quite bullish right out of the gate Monday. Okay, so on top of already feeling bullish, they're feeling even more bullish right out of the gate on Monday. And again, we're going into, you know, a G20 event where we really don't know what the hell's going to come out of it, right? I mean, there's a better shot of seeing Christ than an actual deal coming out of it, but we're hoping for some good news. But players on a short term, I should say traders on a short term basis, are positioned in one direction. All right. So then you can see as the market sold off, I don't feel like pulling up a SPY chart, but if you remember what happened yesterday, the market got weak, right? It was choppy action, and you could see how this leveled out and basically just ended up, you know, back here again, not to a panic state or a nervous state, basically to where we started, okay, pretty much coming into the day on Monday. And coming into the day on Monday, like I mentioned, you know, we weren't in great shape anyway, right? Players were a little too bullish for our liking. Then this morning, you saw the same exact thing, right? For no particular reason, players, the same thing, right out of the gate, bullish, okay? And then as the market began to roll over, right? And this thing was stubborn today. You could see little by little, you know, getting back to, again, where we came into the session, all right? So this is not telling us that they went from feeling bullish to nervous, okay? This is basically telling us that they went from feeling bullish, even more bullish, to back to where they started on a position basis, all right? I want to see the stuff, the indicators that I follow update tonight. That will be even a cleaner read of where we stand going into tomorrow. Because a lot of times I look at this and then I go look at my indicators update at night, and they tell me a little bit of a different story. So as of now, it looks like we pretty much gone out of the session today right about where we came in, which is neutral-ish as a whole. Okay. So that went on today. So just so you get an idea of what, you know, what this whole mess over the past 2 days was all about, in my opinion, the Bulls needed to get jabbed in the face, right? They needed to catch a nice jab, and they did, but it really didn't, it didn't knock them out, right? It hardly even phased them yesterday. So we'll see what kind of damage it does. And this is what it looks like. Right, this is what it looks like on a SPY chart. All right, so you have Monday, Tuesday, and you can see how the put the call played out there, and how the put the call could be useful. Again, just get an idea of, you know, trying to make sense out of the price action out there. All right. The other chart I want to show you now is just basically on a daily basis now. And as I mentioned, guys, this is just a simple put the call. Whether you're a member or not, you know, you have access to some sort of put the call out there. They're all over the place. So this is not just members only material. You know, we look at a lot of other stuff that breaks stuff down even further. All right, so here's a put to call daily, end of day. Okay, so intraday, you can see the put the call can move around, right? This is just an end of day reading. Every day at the end of the day, it updates. All right, and here's where I'll give you guys an example. This was the December panic low, right? You can see that sticks out like a sore thumb, right? And you can see here, right, recently elevated the lows, okay, of, you know, the most recent pullback. And look where we were coming in to the week here. Is this it? Right around here. So basically, at the start of this week, this is where we were at. Okay, that's not, you know, if you're long or looking to get long, or if you're bullish, that's not what you want to see. You know, coming into the week or starting the week. All right, and you can see now we pretty much are right here. You know, we'll see, like I said, when it updates, maybe some of the other stuff tell a different story, neutralish or whatever the case. All right, so, but that's it. Anybody have any questions on this as far as before we even start talking about anything else? Anybody have any questions on a simple put the call and how maybe they misread it or they're not seeing what I'm saying? Let me get the questions in order here. All right, and it's not a crystal ball. It's not some magic formula, okay? But it's just getting an idea of positioning out there in the market. All right, there are other readings, there are other indicators that really break down this information. All right, there's opening, bought to only put the calls, NASDAQ put the calls, NASDAQ equity put the calls, Dow Jones put the calls. There's, you understand what I'm saying? This here, this what I'm showing you guys is this is a total put the call. Okay, this is total. All right. So I just want to give you guys a basic idea because, like I said, we're coming off the Sunday webinar. You knew what we were looking at and how we felt about, you know, the information we had at hand coming into the week. All right, and we were looking for a breather or at least sentiment to cool come, you know, at the start of this week, and kind of the opposite happened out of yesterday. Okay, it didn't cool much at all. If anything, bulls were feeling a little better about themselves early on, and the market had to take care of that. All right, so in my opinion, and you know, around this, that's my takeaway from what's going on right here. You know, we had a big rally, strong rally, I should say, rather than big. The velocity of the rally was ridiculous. Okay, and just like many rallies, right, at towards the end of it is where people are feeling bullish about things, no matter what's around us. Okay, now you start sprinkling in, right, and we don't talk about this much because, you know, I don't like to focus on it much, but the macro picture, what's going on out there as far as, you know, news events and so on. And it was tough for us coming into the week. If we had sentiment on our side, I would have felt like it's, you know, we really needed to see some strong signals out of sentiment to feel really good going into the G20. We had the opposite of that. And what we were worried about, again, if you recollect the Sunday conversation, we were talking about the Fed, right? And we said that, you know, if the Fed starts backtracking like they normally do, right? You had Powell at the Fed meeting coming out and being all out dovish. And then since then, now the Fed, you know, I don't think a half point I think it would be bad. We need to watch all the information, right? We had that backtracking now. So what's the market who has been factoring in a rate cut and wants the rate cut? We all know that already, right? What do you think the market's going to do if the Fed starts playing games saying they may not give the market what it wants? Right? Exactly. They throw a fit, right? You hear that term, right? The tantrum. And, you know, that's what we're seeing. And basically, if this market wants the 50, they can talk out of their rear ends all they want. it's going to get to 50. Okay, unless they just totally pull a 180 on us and don't pay attention to market prices anymore, and that Fed put goes out the window. All right, but based on the playbook and how this Fed has approached everything up to this point, the market would just throw a fit until it gets that 50. All right, so I don't like to talk about too much about this stuff because it all comes down to the signals for me, right? That's why I don't pay attention to this stuff. But when you add in this stuff and players positioned in a bullish fashion over the short term, again, I'm talking about traders, how they're positioned over the short term, okay? Because that could get confusing at times. We needed to see something like this to loosen things up. All right. And again, now from what we're seeing here today, what we saw here today, we go into tomorrow. Hopefully we're more neutralish now on some of the short-term sentiment. And basically weakness from that point could end up, a nice signal and a nice setup for that squeeze bounce trade that we like to play. But it's all about patience, right? It's all about patience. Luckily, this week, you got 2 days of weakness. Otherwise, if this market, here's what could have happened that really, I think, would have made it even more difficult if you're a player of sentiment and flow like I am and like a lot of you are. If we continue to rally, like we were talking about Sunday, which could have happened, if we rallied up to the G20, that wouldn't have been a good thing because that would have just been more added risk and a less favorable risk reward on any longs we wanted to look at. All right, so far so good off the first 2 days here, and we'll see how the rest of the week plays out. I mean, make sense? Does that make sense? Basically, if you're on the Sunday webinar, it should make sense. If not, I don't know if I can really recap the whole Sunday webinar for you. All right, good enough. So yeah, so we'll see. And I see a lot of you members, I got members and non-members here, so I try to keep it as bland as possible. But for you members, let's see where everything ends up today. And then, the market throws another tantrum tomorrow, the next day. Maybe we get a favorable risk reward. Maybe you guys want to roll the dice on some SPY calls into the G20. Then at least it's worth it. If you have sentiment against you, that's sure, it's enough that you got to roll the dice into an event. You don't want to do that with sentiment against you because even if there is good news, they could sell the news. That's the difference. All right, so let's quickly talk about some flow as well, because we started to see this last week. If you remember, we were talking about it, the start possibly of some rotation out there. Okay, basically all the quality type action, all right, all the action that you would take a second look into has been into some rotation type names, okay, laggards or the industrials, names that really have been out of favor throughout this rally and a lot of this bull market. All right, if you remember, like we were talking about the Caterpillar, which caught some action, actually held up well. I think it was down about 80 cents, if I'm not mistaken, but off a nice run too there. All right, so we've been starting to see action come into these type of names. The problem up until today, it was a little bit different. The issue that I've had with the buying in these names, the good looking action has been in dated strikes. Okay, meaning far out there, October, January. All right, and the problem that presents, if you want to trade, let's say Caterpillar wasn't, but I'm just giving an example, okay, and they're buying Jan calls. They're Jan calls, okay? If the market doesn't have much juice out there, right, choppy or weak, and these things aren't doing much, that stock could easily trade lower or not do anything for the next few days, weeks, if they're that far out there. Okay, so there's no rush. That's basically what I'm getting at. There was no rush to run out and really buy any of this stuff that's dated when there was no momentum out there to begin with. All right, today we saw a little of that change. Okay, not all out aggressive activity in like we want to see. Okay, but we saw some signs of that changing. And here's what I mean by that, not to confuse you guys. What you ideally you would want to see, okay, they buy, let's say, Caterpillar Jan calls, then you want to see them come after, in the next couple of days, you want to see them come after weeklies, maybe front months or 2 months out, right? They come closer in, telling you, okay, they're making a bet now that these things are in play now, right? That's basically what that flow would be telling us. All right, so what we started to see that in, it doesn't matter in what names did it come, it's just we're starting to see it in the group. We saw it like US Steel today, all right? The dog of dogs. The flow has been bullish there, right? Nothing major, but we're starting to see a turn in flow. And today, this morning we started to see that pace, that aggressive spec action come in, and it had some strong momentum early on in the day. You could see here, real nice move out of it. Okay. Other steel names, caught some play as well. Nothing like the X. The X was the best of it, but the new core, they all had some life for a change. All right. Another name that they came after some stuff closer in is this Alcoa. You want to talk about a pain in the ass type stock. This AA, has been the worst. And just recently, they started building a position in October calls. Okay. Which is all fine and dandy, but this stock may sit here for weeks or could trade lower with the market if there's no juice in the group. All right. So now you have Alcoa here trying to find a bottom, right? They built a position in October calls and now caught some July play today. All right. You got earnings out in the end of July, I think, July 17th. All right. So what I'm getting at is this stuff now we want to keep our eyes on and look for that type of flow, because there could be that rotation that we have been looking for ages now. Okay, and maybe the G20 ends up being the catalyst for that rotation, right? We already have seen relative strength and some better performance out of the industrials and the Dow of recent, and some names catching flow there. So it's stuff we want to pay closer attention to. I don't see anything yet for us to go bananas on, okay? Because I don't see them getting all out aggressive across the board. I see them selectively picking spots. But if we start to see more and more of these names and the pace of the buying, even if it's spec activity, who cares, start to really pick up, that tells us that the momentum might be here, for the foreseeable future. All right. And that hasn't been the case for a long, long time. A long, long time. And you see, as this is happening, what's going on everywhere else where the momentum was actually cooked. You're starting, right? They're starting to come in, which is normal. They had to. It all goes back to what we discuss ad nauseum each and every webinar. That's why I hate chasing these things up here. Can they continue higher? Yeah, but eventually something like this is coming, and when it comes quick. And it's really hard to get out of the way. So you have to weigh, as a player in this game, you have to weigh whether, let's say, you want to buy Roku here. I don't know. I'm just giving an example. Okay. Is whatever upside you're looking for worth the risk of a pull like this coming? Because it's coming. The more this thing goes like this, the larger the pull is actually going to be. It's just normal. Normal. Otherwise Roku will be a $700 stock in 2 months at this pace. All right, so, and if you're interested in these names, okay, and I want to hit on this too, because I know just a lot of you guys like to trade these names, and I get it. So the options are liquid, they move and all that stuff. I think at this point, right, we have further weakness from what we're seeing now. You have trade setups there. Okay, meaning like if Roku, let's say, is down tomorrow like this, okay, and you see some decent sweeper activity come into that weakness, you have a potential trade there. But if you're going to hold to try to catch this type of move again, you got to understand the risk you're taking, right? And I would recommend, if you do use it as an entry to catch a big move like this, at least pay for enough time to give you a shot of doing it. You know what I mean? Just in case you get a rally, then a back down, then a rally, and it hangs out here before, builds a base before another run up. Because that's what could be going on. That's what could be going on. But no matter what now, so if you like playing the rotation, I think, I don't want to jinx it again. I've been jinxing the rotation play for so long. You guys know that. I've been starving for this major rotation for a long time now, and it's been MIA. It's ridiculous. All right. I'm hoping there's some good early signs of it, but it's by no means confirmed yet. No means confirmed yet. All right. But that's what happens, Tree. Exactly. We get some early indication of maybe a rotation, and then that's it. You never see these names, see any flow or in play ever again. And it's been for a while. So, but the reason why I'm so gung-ho on this rotation trade is because of the potential upside, guys. If these things get back in play, all right, for even just a quarter or two, 3 to 6 months, you're talking about a lot of names and some big moves. Some big moves. So that's why I'm all gung-ho on the rotation, as opposed to like I said, Roku buying it here and playing for a big move. That's you understand? Up here it doesn't get easier. Like even like Twilio, which has been a favorite stock of ours for a long time now, right? It just, you see what's going on here? You see how much tougher it's getting? This thing's still all out bullish. But no more where you sit tight and let her rip, right? These pulls will eat you up in options if you don't have the time. Eat you up. So, that's why the rotation names, what happens is like you get a move like X, okay? And let's say even you missed the X, right? You day traded or you took it for a swing, but you sold it too quick. But now you see the price action in X and you see the flow that's been coming into X. It's almost automatic. Boom. They're looking for the new name, right? Then they're looking for another sector in the metals group. And then they're looking for the chemicals that have been beaten down. It's almost like it snowballs into something bigger. And there's so many groups and names that have been left for dead in this market. All right. This is basically the reflation trade. So common sense would have it for major rotation to come into these things and these things to perform well. Basically, what that would be telling us is that there was a recession scare. We avoided it. We got the Fed easing, and basically the market's going to be telling us that we're going to see things turning around going forward. You understand? That's what simply put the play would be on these things if that happens. All right, but I'm just giving you guys, because a lot of you guys asked me the question, why are you so worried about or concerned about the rotation? Why do you want the rotation? If we get a pullback at anything, isn't it good? Yeah, but it's just more. My biggest, you guys know me. I'm not known for big scores, right? The stuff that I've I've gotten lucky on my positions have all been early stage rotation type plays. You know what I mean? Where I felt comfortable going out with some time and giving a leash to it, and I got lucky and things moved, in a big way. Yeah, but Gordon, that's the thing. We're not going to try to figure out when it's going to turn around. That's a waste of our time. You understand? The market will tell you when these things are turning around right in front of your eyes. And it doesn't even have to come true. The market doesn't even necessarily have to be right per se. An example of that was the semiconductors, okay? If you want a good example of it, the semiconductors coming out of the December correction. All right, if you remember what happened there, basically it was the worst imaginable time going into January if you were looking to get long these semis. Bad news out to wazoo. Okay. Somebody had to put a gun to your head to buy it. But what happened? We saw the flow explode in these things, and not just one name. You could have thrown a dart at any of these things off action, and you would have made a score. You would have made an absolute score, right? So just like if you missed the LRCX, there were how many other semiconductors that followed behind it? LRCX was the first to turn. So that's, you don't want to get all caught up in, how negative the news is around. They always turn, Gordon, they always turn when there's bad news. They don't turn and a siren goes off. It's the bottom. Everybody get long. Turn around, baby. That doesn't happen. You know what I mean? It's basically the price action doing the unexpected while the news is still negative, right? And then you know what happens? You saw, right? As soon as people started talking in a positive way about the semis, what happened? As soon as they started talking positive about the semis and maybe they're turning around, they stalled and rolled over again. Because the market's always ahead of the riffraff. Always. Always. The stuff you and I, Gordon, are looking at and reading about each and every day is already in the stock price. The market knew about it 6 months ago. So that's why I wouldn't get caught up on the news. I would put earplugs in and don't get caught on the news. I would just look at the price action and the flow. The price action and the flow is all you need to know to confirm whether these things are in turnaround mode or not. All right, so that's basically where we're at as far as flow is concerned. But as a whole, I'll be honest with you guys, as a whole, there's not too much right now in front of us to get excited about yet. There's nothing really to get excited about yet. Yeah, there's some names I'm looking at. I'm definitely looking, and I want to be early. Lewis, you and I spoke about this, right? The last time. I'm looking to be early. All right. I want to be early, and I know this sounds stupid, but I want to be underwater when I start to buy these things. Okay. Because if I don't approach it that way, I usually miss the boat. That's me, though, because I don't like to chase moves. I'm always looking for the pullback, so I need to be early with some time behind it for me to catch a decent move in these things. All right, so that's why I have been and I'm already looking, and at the least gonna start putting on starter positions, and whatever I want to add to, I'm gonna add to. The longer they sit around, as long as these things are being bought, I'll add to them. And that I think applies right now. This is another thing, Lewis, you mentioned earlier. I think that most of the stuff out there right now, if names are catching big action out there, okay, because selectively there's some stuff that is getting hit hard, okay? You got to understand what type of environment we're in right now. That could change. That could definitely change. But right now, with no real momentum out there yet, you can be early and be underwater, but you got to understand, where the action, what strikes they're betting in, how far out it is, and how you want to approach it. A perfect example of this, because we were talking about this, the AGN. Okay, you guys remember, I know a lot of you guys played it. Luckily, some of you who I spoke to were still in it for the move. But I also know a few people who got stopped out, right? The infamous stopped out on the options. But, this thing was catching November activity in size. Granted, there was some smaller spec action around it, but the sharper activity was in November. And don't get me wrong, the stock looked like absolute shit after that action. Right that day, as they were buying it, the stock was selling. Right? I think all this happened after the action, didn't it? And then, right, out of nowhere, a little boop, boop, boop. So that's the tricky part when you don't have the wind at your back with sentiment and the rest of the flow. If you're going to play these things in this type of environment, you gotta be prepared for it. You gotta be ready for it. And I agree, it's a pain in the ass and it's not fun. But we know things are a lot easier when we got the squeeze and the riffraff short, right, in our pocket. When the riffraff short and we're in squeeze mode, and may get choppy and there'll be some turbulence, you got to expect exactly. That pizza is another one right now in the flesh. Okay, yesterday Jan buyer, right, and today she was down $1.50. Do you think that has any effect on the Jan order, the $1 million sweep? If he or she was concerned about a couple bucks downside over the short term, right, they would have been playing monthlies or Julys or August. They wouldn't go out to January if they were concerned about it. So that's where, you either want to put a starter position on just in case it catches news like the AGN and you don't end up adding to it. That's what I did. I put some on, and now, each and every day it's down here, even better, right? I see them start to buy it again. I'm definitely going to add. Even if they don't add to it based off the Jan order, I'll probably add. Yeah, I put a starter on the pizza. So and that's what I'm looking to do, Tree, with some of the rotation plays mostly out there. I would put this pizza in the story category. I think someone is playing for something up his sleeve. We didn't know that. Honestly, I had no feel off that in AGN. Who God knows, who was buying that side for what. But usually when you see that out of nowhere, right, just one name selectively catching action like that, it's a story stock. You're looking for some sort of news or something to get in your corner over there. It's better if it goes sideways. Yeah, of course. But that doesn't happen all the time, unfortunately. Oh, that would be ideal, honey. If I could sign up, honestly, for a way for these things to trade off missiles and size action, here's what I want. Right? Give me a good month of that I can buy on every dip with not much drawdown and sleep nice. But it doesn't always happen that way because not only the stock itself, you got the market. All right, you got a lot of things around you going on. That's the problem. That's the problem. All right, and very quickly, as far as action today, I played two things. No, I meant two things that, let me get to the whole ball of wax here. You had Chewy, caught a sweep, and also caught some put selling activity. All right, so this is an IPO, obviously, and this is its first round of action. They tend to have a tendency to do well off their first sweepers, as we know with the Zoom and all the rest of them. All right, so again, the put selling activity on top of a call sweeper, not too shabby in an IPO name. I bought some August calls there. I also day traded it, got a nice pop out of it immediately, actually. Wish they all did this when I'm day trading. Look at this. There's a 5-minute. Literally right after we bought it, this happened. I don't know why. I didn't see any news or anything, but it just ripped. So you got the Chewy, caught some play and put selling activity today. Another name that caught a lot of action. Oops, let me go to the daily. Is this Newell Brands. This is a name, maybe it's rotation, but they've played this name in the past where they got aggressive and they caught news. So this could be one of those story, something up the sleeve type names. What I did, I didn't play the options here. I day traded it. I was actually going to swing stock, and I ended up day trading it off ponytail pump. So I'm looking probably to add to this, put the position back on, or I'll buy some calls. They were August calls. Okay, they were pretty aggressive. I'll shoot it out on my regular Twitter, all these orders. I forgot to post it on the private Twitter. I have them all here. You had the action in X today. That's all spec action. I would just keep an eye on it on weakness for day trades, or even swings if it catches some good looking action. And you had Alcoa today was the other. All right, July sweeps there. Hold on, did I post the top bets? I don't know. I'll shoot them out later on. What's the Micron doing? Up? Oh, what is that? What a mess. You got a conference call and everything there. You know what's interesting? They bought, you guys probably saw, you Steam Room members saw, they were buying WDC, which was interesting, before the earnings, before Micron earnings. But who was looking to roll the dice there? Not me. Oh, speaking of which, look at this. Let's see. These things are nuts. Anybody have any question? Any questions on, especially you members? Anybody have any questions? By the way, Steam Room members, not private Twitter, the trading room members, we got a really nice update coming. You probably saw the post mañana. So keep an eye out for that. In the off-topic section, you'll see some of the highlights of that. What is it? But I'll come in early tomorrow and we'll go over. But some cool stuff that a lot of you have been asking for, a lot of stuff I've been asking for, new search features, where I can add commentary to the order. So basically you could see commentary next to the order. That's huge. Yes, squeezometer. Now the squeezometer, when it updates, will be right in front of your face. How huge is that, right? I knew you guys would be excited about that. All right, so, and let me see here. Do I have anything else that I want to share with you guys? That's it. Anybody have any questions? I know some people were asking me questions during the day. I forgot what the hell they were asking me. Anybody have any questions on, where we're at, maybe sentiment-wise or anything like that? What we're keeping an eye on? Nothing? We're pretty clear? What are we looking for in the squeezometer? I mean, the squeezometer basically, if you get into the 30s on the squeezometer on an intraday basis, you want to start looking You want to start looking for a squeeze. You know, you want to start looking for a squeeze. As far as swing trading, that's where the other stuff, like that short-term trader sentiment at the end of the day, I will post a video update when we get close. I'm not going to wait till we get there unless we get there quick. But if we get close, I'll give you guys a heads up on where we stand. All right. But from what I'm thinking right now, again, sometimes I'm shocked by things when I see the updates at night, but it looks like we're more around neutral-ish. If we get further weakness, might set up something nice. Gold, yeah, gold on the daily sentiment index is pretty hot right now. It's pretty hot. You can see here 902, second one. You know, so it's tough up here. Listen, you don't need sentiment to tell you it's hot. I mean, Jesus Christ, look at this thing. Yeah, as long as things are going the way they're going, this thing could push higher, but when the pull comes, it's going to be hard, you know? If you're bullish gold, you want to wait for a pull here. You want to wait for a pull. You'll get a pull. It's a matter of if you can get yourself to buy it at that point. Yeah, the NDSI and the S&P, the DSI still have work to do. Still have work to do. But Samir, what I'm focused on right now is more of even just entries for trades. You know, coming into this week, I was gun shy on just trades, worried about something like this. You know, so even if we get some of the extreme short-term indicators in better shape, you know, at least we still can find some entries for reversals. Thought we were good on the sentiment side, Jason. There's huge. No, see, that's where a lot of you guys are getting confused, Moon. What it is we're talking about traders. You see how this moves around? Okay, you see how this moves around the chart I was showing you here, right? This stuff, how it moves around and we talk about it. Okay, these are traders, right? We're focused on how the traders are positioned for the short term. Okay, the backdrop. So we're talking about intermediate, longer term sentiment is favorable. Okay, but that doesn't matter. The market, here's an example. Okay, the backdrop was favorable, Moon, going into this. You know what I mean? That didn't mean that we can't pull back. So if you're worried about these short-term pullbacks, that's where you have to pay attention to that short-term sentiment stuff. You know, there's a big difference. There's a big difference. Yeah, that's, in other words, Mick Elliott, that's what Mick Elliott's talking about. The backdrop right now of positioning is favorable. You know, nobody, you know, you hear, like we said, you hear comparisons about 1999 into 2000. Nobody's all in risk on in equities. Everybody's in utilities. Everybody's in defensive names. Everybody's in bonds. So that's a favorable backdrop, right? So that we want to be buyers of pullbacks with that backdrop. Okay, but where in the pullback do you buy, Moon? That's where that shorter term stuff comes into play. Does that make sense? Right? You can't have, basically, you can't, you know, look at one time frame and it pretty much gives you a handle on everything. Right? You can't have sentiment over one time frame and trade actively over the next day or two off of it. So that's where, you know, again, you know how to keep the two separated. And, you know, we look at the short-term stuff a lot because we're active. Any thoughts on Tesla? I have zero thoughts on Tesla. What's she up to? Let's see. I have no idea. Honestly, I have no idea. You know, it's had a decent lift off the lows. She's breathing a little bit here, but I like to buy it. The only time I ever bless Tesla, you guys know, is if there's weakness and then they sweep into that weakness. That happened back here, by the way. Amazon, I didn't even know Amazon pulled back much, is it? Let me see. Yeah, it just started. You know, it just started, Martin. See, the thing is this. I think if you get a little more weakness out of Amazon, you know, and you see some flow in these names, you get that bounce back trade. Or sentiment. You know, that's another thing, Moon, where sentiment could apply. You know, let's say you're looking at Amazon for an entry, and Amazon doesn't catch a lot of sweeper activity. You guys know that, unfortunately. Right? They're rare. That's why they've done so well when they show up. But if you are looking for an entry on Amazon, right, that's where sentiment can give you an idea where to look to pull the trigger. So I would keep an eye on short-term sentiment and see, you know, that's where I'd probably look for an entry for a trade on Amazon. Yeah, I saw a shop. Finally, they took her down, huh? I mean, come on. That's nothing. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. I don't, where's this thing? This thing's probably a buy already, right? You closed your short on shop, Paul? Jesus. Oh God. Yeah, but you made some nice money off yesterday, right? It was weak? Yeah. Yesterday was weak too. Wow. That's annoying, isn't it, Paul? All right, that's annoying. The next day they give you the waterfall like that. My God. No, that's not PFD. We got like 8 polls in here, Gordon. All kidding aside, we got like 8 polls on this webinar right now. Yeah, what are you gonna do? I mean, listen, you know what happens, Paul? If you hung on to it, she probably squeezes today. Oh, there's another poll. So, you know, here's another one, like, right? Zoom. I think you have a trade here. You see some action tomorrow. Yeah, if this thing's red and you get some half decent action, you could play a snapback there, even if you're early. Yeah, you want to see some decent action. Me personally, I want to see some decent action. But the same thing, we get a bullish sentiment signal. You know, you can look for entries on all these things for a bounce, in my opinion. George is saying it could be worse. He bought the shop dip yesterday. Yeah, meanwhile, shop could be at new highs before you know it, this nut job stock. Yeah, this thing, if it's red, they might reverse it. See these momentum, they come out of the momentum. They haven't really gone into the other spots as aggressive as they've been selling these things, but what are you going to do? That could still happen. Baba, all these names like Baba, I think everything is going to come down to Friday. You know, after that, we'll see where she is, but it's kind of almost lotto ticket-esque into Friday. And you got some China plays that are actually looking half decent. Unfortunately, you got that Friday thing in the way. What would be really interesting, though, is if Baba and these things are weak and they buy them off of Friday. That would be really interesting. Really interesting. I told you, I showed you guys on Twitter. Yeah, this name, QD, they've been buying the living daylights out of. And it's a China play, but doesn't look like a China play. QD. Been hot action there. Yeah, so that's basically, so that's to sum it all up, guys, and I'll let you enjoy your night. All right. Yeah, let stuff come to us here until we see something out of flow to get us excited, or we get sentiment on our side. I think it's as easy as that. As easy as that. You know, there's no reason to play out of our shoes right now until we see some further evidence, right? Some proof that there's reason for us to get a little more aggressive. I don't see it right now. But pick some spots, you know, keep an eye on some names. Oh yeah, good call, Tim. Win. That's another one. They seem to be buying into this little dip. And you look at this pullback, right? I didn't even realize it pulled back as much as that. Win and Las Vegas Sands has seen some flow here. So Win was a couple different strikes, though. I don't have them in front of me. They were a couple different lines. What month, Tim? All the same month? On the Win? Oh, the levels. Tim, option trader from the room, is, I guess he's saying these levels, he likes them here. He likes the stock at these levels. Let's see. August. Oh, August. Okay. Yeah, the August. Oh, July's too. That could be a play on Friday. The August line's not bad. See, you know when. You got to hold your nose. If you like it, buy it. And try not to get shaken out and, you know, all up in a frenzy off the volatility. You know, this thing can move and it's crazy. Sometimes you get lucky and she rips a couple of days after you buy it, but you remember how we played it off a couple of these lows. Yeah, they throw you around a little bit. Yeah, GS had a little bit of action. That looks pretty good. GS looking good. The banks were one of the few sectors that still, you know, aren't cooked per se. A lot of these stocks look good. Which one? Tim is saying Goldman Sachs, you can get at a discount now, those calls, if you're interested. And the stock really hasn't even moved much. Oh, they're July 200s. CRM, you're going to get, at least, Ranchero, you're going to get another trade opportunity out of it. You know, but you see how these things have been acting, Ranchero. You see there, right? They got a little toppy here. They got a little toppy here. But this is money, right? These are all potential profitable trades. Yep. If you buy pullbacks and you're willing to take what they give you. That's what I was referring to earlier, you know, as far as all those names you guys like to play. These trades are always alive. So don't be afraid of weakness. You know, you get weakness and you get some sweeper activity into it, you have these trades. Just the cardinal rule is you can't chase green, right? You don't want to chase the runs, and you don't want to hold for the breakout to new highs unless you're willing to take that risk. But you can't be pissed off if it ends up turning into a loser and you're stuck in consolidation like this. You know, this is what happens. And it's so hard to tell, right? When you're stuck in this web, it's so hard to tell until you're already deep into it. Like CRM just looks strong and bullish throughout. But, you know, how long in the tooth? These names have been catching action for a long, long time now. Yeah, they're still great trades. They're still great trades. The key word being trade. You know, the key word being trade. All right, guys. I'm going to let you guys go. All right. We'll see. Members, I'll update everything tonight. Keep an eye on it. I'll throw it to the private Twitter and market updates. We got an update in the room tomorrow, so that should be exciting. All right, and we'll see. Maybe we got a better setup than what we think right now. I'll let you guys know later tonight. Be good, everybody. Enjoy your night.